Welcome back to Range of Reality. I'm Jody Salerno, and today we're tackling a topic that's as real as it is heartbreaking: how predators target our children and how trafficking takes hold. This isn't going to be an easy conversation, but it could save a life. And that's the point of this show: to strip away the fluff, get real about safety, and give you the tools you need to protect yourself and the people you love. Today's episode is one that every parent, grandparent, aunt, uncle, teacher, anyone who loves a child needs to hear. And by the end, my goal is that you'll walk away not just with knowledge, but with practical tips. Because knowing the playbook predators use is the first step to beating them at their own game. So grab a coffee, lean in, and let's get real. Child trafficking is one of the darkest crimes in our world today. It robs children of their freedom, their safety, and often their very sense of self. And here's the truth: it's not just happening somewhere else. It's happening everywhere, in our towns, our neighborhoods, and online spaces, places where children should feel safe. Most people imagine trafficking as someone being kidnapped and tied up, but in reality, it often looks like a teenager sitting in a restaurant, or traveling through an airport, or even still living at home. This episode pulls back the curtain with real clues and what listeners can actually do if they suspect something. One of the hardest truths to swallow is this: predators don't pick victims at random. They don't roll dice or close their eyes and point. They target them, they study them, and they test them. And they choose the kids who look the easiest to manipulate. If we can think like them for a moment, we can teach our kids how to not be chosen. So let's start at the beginning: how predators think and how they pick their targets. Victims aren't chosen at random. They are chosen strategically. Predators are looking for vulnerabilities, and they're patient enough to wait for the right moment. So picture this: two kids at the park. They're laughing, climbing the jungle gym. Parents are nearby. Off to the side is another child sitting alone on a bench, scrolling on their phone with no adult around. Which one do you think the predator notices? It's not about who's prettier, smarter, or stronger. It's about someone who looks unprotected. Predators notice body language, hunched shoulders, and eyes down. That's the child they approach because the risk of resistance is lower. Now let's switch to the digital world. A predator joins a Roblox server with 20 kids. Most are joking around, but one child types, my parents are the worst. I wish I didn't live here. That one message is a signal. To a predator, it screams vulnerability. That's the child they DM because they've already announced loneliness and frustration at home. Or think about a high schooler who just broke up with her first boyfriend. She's posting late night selfies with captions like, "I'll never be good enough," or "I'm just not that pretty." A predator slides into her DMs with, "Don't say that. You're gorgeous. I'd treat you so right." To her, it feels like the attention she desperately needs. To him, it's a strategy. He's already calculating how to hook her. Predators are watching body language, attitude, even how a child responds when asked a simple question. The sad truth is they're patient. They will groom for weeks, months, and sometimes years. So now that you know predators don't pick at random, let's look at the next part of the playbook. What actually happens when they choose a target? You've heard a few stories about kids who got noticed because they were lonely, unsupervised, or craving validation. Now we're going to peel back the rest of the onion, the actual sequence predators follow once they've identified someone. It's not a single moment, it's a process, and the process is predictable. That predictability is the advantage we get back when we know what to look for. I want you to hold that. Predictable means preventable. Most predators follow a 4-stage playbook. It looks like this: first surveillance, then approach, then the grooming, and then the control. I'll walk you through each stage, show you what it looks like both online and in person, and give you the exact moves parents can use to interrupt the flow. Stage 1 is the surveillance stage. It's the watching stage. This is where it all starts. Surveillance is quiet. It's patient. Predators spend time simply watching, cataloging, and comparing. They don't need to be clever. They just need to be present. Online surveillance looks like joining the right server, scrolling comment threads, and noting who posts late at night or writes things like, "Nobody understands me. I wish someone cared." In a gaming chat, they notice who's always online, who answers immediately, and who hangs back alone. On social media, they scroll for posts that hint at loneliness, low self-esteem, or family conflict. In person, surveillance can even be simpler. It's sitting in a coffee shop and watching whose parents never show up. It's lingering after practice. Who's walking through a parking lot alone? Predators test environments at the mall, the bus stop, the school pickup line, and they notice patterns. So let me give you some real life examples. Let me tell you about a boy named Alex. Alex is a 12-year-old who loves Roblox. He plays every night. His parents think he's home, he's safe, he's in his room, he's just gaming with friends. One night, a friend request pops up from a player named Jake 14. They start chatting in the game, trading tips, and working on challenges together. And within a few weeks, Jake becomes Alex's favorite teammate. They joke, they build, they win together. Then Jake says, hey, let's talk on a private chat. It's easier than typing here. So they move to another app. Jake shares memes, music, and even compliments Alex. Man, you're way cooler than the kids at my school. Here's the kicker. Jake isn't 14. Jake's 32. He knows how to mirror Alex's language, his humor, and his interests. He starts asking for pictures. Hey, bro, show me your setup. Then it escalates. Send me a pic of you. I'll send one back. That's how exploitation begins, not with force, with grooming, with slow steps, and with patience. Jake didn't target every kid in Roblox. He targeted the one who was always online, always available, and clearly hungry for connection. Again, not random, calculated. Vulnerability was the doorway. At a mall, a predator watches for the kid whose friends drift away. He watches the one checking their phone without checking in with a parent. He watches how adults respond in that environment. If adults look distracted, that location goes from risk to opportunity. So picture 14-year-old Maya. She's at the mall with friends. After a while, the friends leave, and Maya hangs back alone, scrolling on her phone. A man in his 20s notices her. He doesn't approach right away. He sits back and he watches. He sees she's by herself, not checking in with any adults. Finally, he walks up. Hey, that's a cool phone. You on TikTok? They talk. He compliments her hair, her outfit, and even goes as far as to buy her a smoothie. Then he starts asking questions to gauge her life, such as, do your parents let you hang out here a lot? He might ask, what school do you go to? When Maya laughs and opens up, he knows she's hooked. Within minutes, she's given him her Snapchat. And within weeks, he's her, air quote, older boyfriend. Again, not random. He didn't approach the group of confident girls laughing together. He chose the one left behind, head down with no adult nearby. He read her vulnerability before making a move. They're patient. They'll wait weeks, months, even years. They'll invest the time because the payoff, control, is everything to them. And they test boundaries in little steps. First a compliment, then a secret, then a meeting. Step by step until the child is trapped. They're looking for the lonely one, the unsupervised one, the one craving validation. So what do we do about surveillance? The antidote is presence, knowing where your kids are, who they're talking to, and supervising the times and places they're most vulnerable. Predators don't like engaged parents. When they see present adults, they often move on. That's the first interruption. Stage 2 is the approach. This is the test. Once a predator has picked a target, the next move is the approach. This is almost always casual and harmless at first. It's designed to test boundaries and gauge response. The key word here is it's a test. Online, the approach might be a like to one of their pictures, or a comment, you're so beautiful, or you are just so funny. In a chat, it's giving a compliment to see if the child responds. In person, it may be a seemingly harmless question, such as, hey, can you help me find the restroom? Or what school do you go to? Approaches are disguised to measure, will the kid make eye contact? Will they respond? Do they seem afraid? Do they comply? If a child responds warmly even once, that response feels to the predator like permission to go further. Imagine a 13-year-old girl named Emily. She's on social media all of the time, posting selfies, writing captions like, nobody really gets me. I wish I lived somewhere else. A 22-year-old man notices. At first, he just likes her pictures. Then he comments, you're gorgeous. Don't let anyone tell you differently. That small comment lights up Emily's world. Finally, someone noticed her. Over the next few weeks, he messages her slowly and carefully. He learns she feels misunderstood at home. He tells her, I get it. Parents don't understand. He positions himself as the only person who really sees her. Fast forward a few months later, Emily's skipping school to meet him. He buys her gifts, shoes, a new phone, things her parents can't afford. He convinces her to keep it secret. They wouldn't understand us. This is just between you and me. And that's the trap, not through force, not through abduction, but through exploiting her loneliness, her insecurity, and her need to be valued. See how that worked? He didn't just pick up any random girl. He picked up the one who was crying out for attention online. Vulnerability was the doorway. A man in a parking lot says to a teen, hey, do you know what time it is? Seemingly harmless, but it's really a boundary check. He's not really asking for the time. He's seeing whether the teen is confident or timid. A confident, I don't know, sorry, and walking away closes the door. Hesitation invites the predator to keep talking. The approach is a test. We can give kids simple language to pass the test. Teach them a few short practiced responses. They don't need to be rude. They just need to be firm. No thanks. I can't help you. Gotta go. And then move on. Sometimes the approach comes from people in positions of trust. A coach might say, you're my favorite, or gives rides home only to one child. That extra attention is grooming disguised as mentorship. It starts as praise, but it's really a test to see how far they can go with personal connection. If the child shuts down the approach, most predators move on. But if the child engages, even a little, the door swings open. The first contact is never aggressive. It's casual, light, and almost forgettable. The goal is to test the child's boundaries. Will they respond? Will they keep talking? They're watching for the child's reaction. Confidence is a wall, hesitation is a crack. If the child pushes back, they move on. So parents, equip your kids with exit scripts. Teach them to say, I don't know, I'm not allowed to talk to strangers, or to simply walk away and call a parent. Even rehearsing these out loud can make a child far less appealing to a predator. So teach and rehearse 3 exit scripts at home. Practice them until they become second nature. And encourage kids to check in with you after any weird online or in-person interaction. And stage 3, grooming. This is the hook. This is the most dangerous stage of all. This is where the real damage happens. And here's what makes grooming so tricky. It doesn't feel like abuse. It feels like love. It feels like attention. It feels like finally being chosen. That's why it's so powerful and why so many kids defend the very person who's manipulating them. Grooming is slow, it's patient, and it's intentional. A predator might take weeks, months, or even years to build a relationship, and every single step is calculated. Predators use the same playbook again and again. Grooming is where the predator builds trust, dependency, and secrecy. They will move methodically from stranger to friend to confidant without the child realizing, often, that it's manipulation. There are a few classic grooming tactics. Each step feels like kindness or approval to the child, but each step reduces their options and increases dependency. They give gifts, a new phone, clothes, rides, money. These aren't generosity, they're leverage. They give validation, constant praise. You're the only one who understands me, or you're so mature for your age. It makes the child feel special and different from peers. They build secrets. Don't tell your parents, they wouldn't understand. This creates isolation. Secrets are the predator's most powerful tool. And slowly they sexualize the relationship. They make comments that normalize sexual feelings or behavior for a child's age. Little things escalate into requests for photos, then physical meetings. And to the child, it all feels normal because the predator has been preparing them for it step by step. Let's start online. A 15-year-old girl is lonely, posting selfies late at night. A man pretending to be 17 messages her, "You are so gorgeous. I can't believe no one's dating you." She lights up. Someone finally chooses her. Over time, he calls her his girlfriend. He texts every morning, "Good morning, beautiful," and every night, "Sweet dreams, I love you." This daily attention becomes her oxygen. She starts to pull away from family and friends because she has him. But here's where it flips. He starts asking for photos and says, "If you love me, you'd send me one." Then, "If you really love me, let's meet in person." To her, it feels like love. To him, it's grooming. He's slowly moving her from dependence on her parents to dependence on him. This isn't accidental. That's steady reinforcement. That consistency rewires the child's emotional dependency. Every compliment pulls the child further from family and closer to the predator. And notice how none of that felt scary to her. It felt like romance. And that's why kids often protect their abuser, because they don't see it as abuse while it's happening. Now let's shift to another story. A 16-year-old boy who ran away from home. He's cold, hungry, and sitting outside a convenience store. A man approaches. Hey, you look hungry. Let me buy you something to eat. That meal turns into a hotel room for the night. At first, it feels kind. Finally, someone helps him. Soon that helper demands repayment in sexual acts or forced labor. He starts saying, you owe me. And that child is trapped, dependent, isolated, and ashamed. This is how predators use basic needs, food, shelter, safety, to build dependence and then flip it into control. This is literal survival to the child. And the predator provides the very things the child needs. And suddenly the child feels indebted. That is why grooming works so well. It doesn't look like abuse at first. It looks like a rescue. But that rescue comes with chains. The grooming stage is where predators dig their hooks in. It's slow, it's deliberate, and it's designed to make the victim feel trapped in a relationship, even when abuse starts. And sometimes it's not an online stranger or a man on the street. Sometimes it's a trusted adult. Picture an uncle, a neighbor, or even a coach. At first, it's small favors. Buying the child ice cream, giving rides home, letting them stay late. It's the coach who gives special attention, the neighbor who buys gifts. Secrecy is framed as maturity or a special bond. This is just between us, they'll say. Over time, the relationship becomes exclusive. The child feels chosen, favored. And when the predator makes the first inappropriate move, the child doesn't see it as abuse. They see it as part of that special bond. Because when the adult is already trusted, the child and the family give permission for closeness that masks as abuse. The child thinks it must be okay. And that's the power of grooming inside closed circles. And here's the hardest part. Grooming doesn't feel like abuse at the moment. It feels like love, like help, like mentorship. That's why so many kids defend their abusers. They don't realize until much later that it was manipulation. And why does grooming work? Because kids crave connection, validation, and safety. Predators are not creating anything new. They're providing counterfeit replacements for what's missing. And because it feels like love or rescue, kids defend it. They'll protect their abuser because the relationship has become their primary source of care. They want to be seen. They want independence. Predators step in to give it with strings attached. In this stage, the predator moves from stranger to trusted friend. And this is the hardest part to watch. It feels personal almost. It's easy to say, how could they not see it? But grooming is designed to be invisible. It looks like love, help, mentorship. And when that happens for someone who offers what that child's missing, it's devastatingly effective. And you want to interrupt the moves. Teach kids that secrets from adults are not normal. Use the phrase, if anyone tells you to keep a secret from me, tell me right away. That one rule kills the predator's secret game. Because predators are patient. They don't need a yes on day one. They'll wait for the child to feel emotionally indebted. They'll create a false sense of love or safety. So when the abuse begins, the child protects the predator. So you want to watch for sudden changes. You want to look for expensive items that they have that you didn't buy. Do they have new older friends they won't talk about? Has their attitude become secretive or withdrawn? Or do they use over-sexualized language or behavior? It's all about building trust, creating dependency, and weaving secrecy into the relationship. And stage 4 is control. That's the trap. If grooming is the hook, control's the trap. Once the predator has leverage, they tighten it with threats, shame, isolation, or violence. This is where the behavior of a child changes from defense to compliance. Once a predator feels they have enough leverage, whether through emotional manipulation, shame, or blackmail, they tighten the grip. At this stage, escape becomes incredibly difficult. Victims feel trapped, ashamed, and isolated. And this is where the mask drops. They no longer act like a friend. They're an abuser, relying on fear and secrecy to maintain power. And control takes many forms. One of them is sextortion. A boy sends one photo nude after weeks of pressure. Instantly, the predator threatens, Send me more or I'm going to blast this to your whole school. That's control through fear. They use threats of violence or harm to family. If you tell anyone, I'll hurt your family. Or they use emotional coercion. A 16-year-old tries to leave an older boyfriend. He explodes and says, no one else will want you. You belong to me. She stays not because she wants to, but because fear and shame hold her hostage. Or they remove the child's autonomy. For children in trafficking situations, their documents or phones might be taken, or they may be physically threatened if they try to escape. And they use violence, hitting, intimidation to get forced compliance. If it's a trusted adult, a coach, or a relative, they'll say, if you tell, nobody will believe you. The power dynamic itself is control. At this stage, escape seems impossible to the child. They often internalize the blame. That's why it's so critical for adults to notice early signs. When control is in place, we need trained professionals, law enforcement, social services, and specialized organizations. Don't try to be the hero of your own story. Involve the experts. And that's the playbook they use: surveillance, approach, grooming, and finally control. It sounds methodical because it is, but here's the empowering part. Predictable behavior can be interrupted. Each of these stages offers a chance to step in, to ask the right questions, to say the right words, and most importantly, to keep kids from being targeted. Predators rely on secrecy, distraction, and doubt. Your presence, your curiosity, and willingness to act are the things they fear most. And that's where prevention starts. So let's talk about how trafficking affects victims. It leaves scars that last a lifetime: injuries, untreated illnesses, and permanent health issues. An example would be a 18-year-old girl trafficked. She could end up with permanent reproductive damage after repeated assaults. And the psychological trauma, PTSD, suicidal thoughts. An example is a 16-year-old boy who was extorted online. Now he can't return to school and attempted suicide twice. They have their loss of identity and trust. Victims are convinced they're worthless and they're beyond saving. A victim was quoted as saying, "He made me believe no one would ever want me again." And the social and educational fallout: there's interrupted schooling, criminal charges forced by traffickers. Example would be a girl trafficked at 13. She was arrested at 15 for prostitution, treated as a criminal instead of a victim. A ripple effect. Families fractured by guilt, communities are broken. All this happens when trusted figures are exposed. Example was a small town was shattered after a trusted coach was found trafficking. So we need to recognize the red flags. Trafficking often hides in plain sight. Will we notice? So behavioral red flags you want to watch for are sudden withdrawal, unexplained gifts, over-sexualized behavior, or rehearsed answers, such as a straight-A student skipping. She shows up with gifts and mentions an older, air quote, boyfriend. Physical and mental red flags would be unexplained bruises, branding tattoos, multiple STIs. They're exhausted. An example would be a nurse who's noticing a girl's story doesn't match her injuries, and a man is answering all her questions for her. Some of the situational red flags to watch for are multiple phones, hotel keys. They have no control over their ID or money. A hotel clerk notices a teen with an older man who controls everything. That clerk made the call and saved that girl's life. And the mental health red flags are fear, submission, distrust, severe depression, and suicidal thoughts. The counselor sees a girl avoid eye contact. She cries when asked about her home. One red flag alone doesn't equal trafficking, but stacked together, that's when it's time to act. Victims drop breadcrumbs, and it's on us to follow the trail. So what can we do? This is where the rubber meets the road, because knowing all of this only matters if we act. It's predictable and it's preventable. As parents, as adults, and as protectors, we can interrupt the process at any stage. If we notice surveillance, we step in. If someone approaches, we empower kids with how to respond. If grooming begins, we shine a light on the secrecy. And if control is in place, we act fast to get them help. So how do we take this awareness and turn it into safety? With practical, real-world, everyday strategies to make our kids a hard target. And communication starts at home. So let's start there, because that's where safety begins. Predators thrive in secrecy. If your child doesn't feel safe talking to you, that's the crack a predator will crawl through. I'll give you an example. I knew a mom who thought her teenager was just going through the teenage mood swings. What she didn't realize was that her teenager had been messaging with an older guy online for weeks. When she finally found out, she asked her daughter, "Why didn't you tell me?" And the daughter's answer was, "Because I thought you'd take away my phone." That right there is the wedge predators use. Don't tell your parents, they won't understand. We want to make it clear from day one, you will never get in trouble for telling me the truth. You want to create open-ended questions instead of accusations. Instead of, "You weren't talking to strangers, were you?" You want to say, "Who did you chat with today? What was the best part of your game tonight?" And here's the most important phrase I teach parents to use. If anyone ever tells you to keep a secret from me, that's the moment I most need you to tell me. That one line has stopped grooming in its tracks because it flips the script. Secrecy isn't exciting, it's dangerous, and kids learn to bring the light back in. So ask yourself, does my child feel safe enough to tell me anything? If not, that's your first crack to seal. And you want to give your kids boundaries and exit scripts. Give your kids a voice. Kids don't always know what to say when approached, so we have to give them exit scripts they can practice. And a few good ones would be, "I don't know. I can't help you. No thanks." Or sometimes no words at all. Just walk away. And yes, practice these. Role play at home, make it a game. Because when the moment comes, muscle memory counts. Your online boundaries, predators can't groom kids who don't respond. No reply is a full sentence. But kids need permission from us to ignore strangers. We have to tell them, you don't owe anyone a response online, ever. Predators test for compliance. A strong no, a firm walk away, or even silence sends a clear message. Not this one, not me. In person, teach kids about personal space, the bubble. If someone enters their bubble without permission, that's a red flag. And online, teach them the power of no response. Predators can't groom a kid who doesn't reply. Role play at home. Pretend to be a stranger. Let your child practice saying, "I don't know," firmly. Make it fun but serious. That muscle memory matters. And our kids learn by watching us. If we're glued to our phones in the parking lot, they'll think that's normal. So you want to teach your kids to walk with head up, shoulders back, and with confidence. Always know your exits, your doors, your stairwells, and your alternative routes. And before getting into your car, glance inside and around it. Make sure no one's in it or under it. In public places, play the exit game. Ask them, "Where's the nearest exit?" Or, "If we had to leave right now, which way would you go?" This builds awareness without fear. It turns safety into habit. Remember the red flags we talked about earlier? Gifts, secrecy, new older friends, changes in appearance. Those are your alarm bells. A boy at school suddenly has expensive sneakers. His parents thought maybe he saved his allowance. In reality, a predator was buying him things to build loyalty. That's how trafficking recruitment starts. So as a parent, you want to ask questions without accusing. "That's a cool hoodie. Where'd you get it?" If the answer feels shaky, dig deeper. Curiosity protects better than anger, because sometimes that question alone is enough to open the door for a deeper conversation. And here's a big one. Predators avoid confident kids. They go after the ones who look unsure, insecure, or disconnected. So you want to encourage your child to make eye contact. You want to praise assertive behavior and enroll them in activities that build confidence, such as sports or martial arts. A child who believes, "I have value, I can stand tall, I can say no," is a nightmare target for a predator. So here's the bottom line. We can't bubble wrap our kids, but we can give them the tools, the words, the habits, and most importantly, the confidence to be hard targets. When parents are present, when kids feel valued, when families practice awareness together, predators lose their advantage. It's not about raising scared kids. It's about raising strong, smart, confident ones who know their worth and trust the adults around them. That's how we win. And what do you do if you suspect trafficking? That's the lifeline to these kids. We've talked through how predators think, how they target, how they groom, and why children are so vulnerable. But now we come to maybe the most important part of all. What do you do if you suspect trafficking? Because the truth is, most people freeze. They see something strange, but they second guess themselves. What if I'm wrong? I don't want to cause trouble. And that hesitation is exactly what traffickers count on. So the first thing you want to do is trust your gut. Your instincts are powerful. If something feels off, it usually is. Example is a woman at a rest stop. She notices a young girl with an older man. The girl wouldn't make eye contact, and when the man spoke for her, she looked terrified. The woman's gut screamed something was wrong, so she called the authorities. Later, she found out the girl had been trafficked and was being transported across state lines. What if she had brushed it off? Trusting her gut saved that girl's life. And remember, no single red flag proves trafficking. But when you see several stacked together, that's when alarm bells should go off. A teacher once noticed a 14-year-old student who suddenly had a new phone, new shoes, and was skipping school. When asked, she brushed it off with vague answers. Instead of ignoring it, the teacher called in the counselor and later authorities. It turned out she was being exploited by an older man she met online. It wasn't one sign, it was the combination of them that told the story. And don't confront the predator yourself. This is crucial. Your first instinct might be to step in, confront the adult, or try to rescue the child yourself, but that can put both you and the child in more danger. Traffickers are often violent. They can retaliate, and if you confront them, they may disappear with the child before help arrives. And document what you see. When something feels wrong, details matter. Write down descriptions. What does the child look like? Who are they with? License plates, vehicles, locations, times. These details may be critical for law enforcement. And if it's your child, if you ever suspect it's happening to your own child, don't panic, don't scream, and don't accuse. That will shut the door down. Instead, stay calm, approach with love and not anger. Say things like, I love you, I'm worried about you, and I want to understand. The goal is to keep communication open because secrecy is the trafficker's strongest weapon. And then you want to involve professionals, law enforcement, call the hotline, call Child Protective Services. You don't have to do it alone, and you shouldn't. I know this is a lot, and I know it's heavy. And talking about trafficking makes your stomach knot up. It does mine, especially as a parent. But here's the reality. The world isn't safe, but awareness gives you power. You don't have to catch every predator. You just have to be the kind of adult who notices, who listens to their gut, and who acts instead of freezing. And that action, a phone call, a detail written down, a calm conversation with your child, could be the lifeline that changes everything. If you ever suspect grooming or trafficking, here's what you don't do. You don't confront the predator yourself. That can put the child in more danger. Here's what you do. You call the National Human Trafficking Hotline, 1-888-373-7888, or you text the letters HELP to the number 233733. You give details, time, place, what you saw, and the descriptions. Trust your gut. One phone call has saved countless children. You don't have to be certain. You just have to be willing to act. So here's the bottom line. Predators hate confidence, connection, and communication. When kids feel seen and valued at home, when they've rehearsed how to respond, and when they watch us model awareness, they become the hardest kind of target. This isn't about fear, it's about empowerment. It's about raising kids who know their worth, trust their instincts, and know they have adults who will always back them up. And that's how we win. So this week, do one thing. Have one conversation with your child. Teach them one exit script and save the hotline number in your phone. 1-888-373-7888, or you text the letters HELP to the number 233733. Thanks for spending this time with me today on Range of Reality. If you found this episode helpful, please hit subscribe so you never miss a show, and share it with someone who needs this message. The more we spread awareness, the more lives we protect. I'd love to hear from you too. If you've ever come across a situation like this, or if you have a story about how you handle it, DM me. Your experience could be the encouragement someone else needs. And don't forget, I've put together a free safety checklist that has all the red flags and the hotline number to call or text. You can grab it right now at rangeofreality.com. It's a simple tool you can use today to protect yourself and your loved ones. Finally, for my favorite products that help keep us safe, visit my Amazon store at amazon.com/shop/ready-train-fire. I've curated the gear I trust and recommend. Until next time, stay aware, stay empowered, and keep living a life worth protecting.
I'd like to tell you about my sponsor. It's my sponsors that allow me to do this podcast, so please support them. If you ever have to defend yourself, the fight doesn't end when the threat is gone. on. Legal trouble, court cost, lost wages, it all adds up fast.
And that's where the United States Concealed Carry Association comes in.
They provide award-winning self-defense training and education, but more than that, they've secured liability insurance for their members that helps cover bail, legal fees, and other critical costs after an incident. So if you care about protecting what matters, visit
usconcealedcarry.com
and see why peace of mind is part of being prepared.